Spiritual leadership requires both heavenly insight and earthly action. Let's define spiritual leadership. Spiritual leadership to me is a process of influencing others through inspiration, vision, values, rooted in transcendent understanding of reality and purpose. And you're going to hear me spend some inordinate amount of time. You may even become tired of it, because for me, the operative word is transcendent. That all too often, we do not, in the context where we serve, teach people that by virtue of our relationship with Jesus Christ, we are living always with an above consciousness. So our conversations, our vision casting, our expectations are never just natural. They are always transcendent. And for me, transcendence is what makes the difference. The reason people keep coming to our churches to hear us preach and to engage ministry is because they believe it's an invitation to a higher reality, albeit a heavenly reality. And it's really tantamount to what Paul says when he says, I was lifted to the third heaven and I saw things that were inexpressible, right? Our congregations, it's like my young adults who often have said to me, we have never come to Mount Ararat to hear you quote rap stars or to hear your content sermonically to be so earthly or in a vernacular that is common to our everyday speech. We're here because we want to be transported into something above. And we sometimes can make the critical error of becoming so common that we lose mystique. And every clergy person, when he or she walks in a room, there ought to be a mystique. Nobody in that room should feel like they could continue to be carnal with you walking in the room. In any setting, barbershop, golf course, beauty salon, it doesn't matter. When you walk in, people should feel like they need to straighten up in language, demeanor, and activity. Because when we become too common, we lose the ability to tap the transcendent in other people. Now, that has caused problems for me over the 28 years in this current church because I have members who want to be my friend. And it's been tough in terms of relational connectivity for me to remind my members, you got enough friends, I'm your pastor. And that changes the nature of our relationship. I actually have guys at my golf course who have joined our church, and they thought in joining Mount Ararat that we would continue our relationship the way we do on the golf course. So they just want to kind of float in and out of my office. They want to have conversations with me and engage me in the vestibule by calling me Bill or calling me Rev. And we have to indoctrinate them to how different this environment is. Because here I'm your shepherd. On the golf course, I'm your competitor. And how I talk trash as a competitor is not what I do when I'm in the pulpit, right? So we can never be common. You can discern what all that means, right? All right. Let me give you a couple quotes of others who are respected in the industry who talk about leadership. Robert Greenleaf says, the servant leader is a servant first. And it begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. I'll give you an opportunity, because I see some people either taking notes or taking pictures. So the servant is servant first, and it begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve. Henry Nouwen, one of my favorite authors, says, the leader is called to be completely irrelevant and to stand in this world with nothing to offer but his or her own vulnerable self. And I think that's a strong one. Yeah. To be virtually irrelevant. Dallas Willard states that spiritual leadership is moving people onto God's agenda. And we can interchange either of these because I love all of them, right? Tell me to slow up if you're trying to take notes or take pictures. Key characteristics of spiritual leadership. It is rooted in service rather than status. Rooted in service rather than what? Status. Okay. It is motivated by love rather than power. It's guided by transcendent values and divine wisdom. We hear that word again, transcendent. It's focused on transformation rather than transaction. As a younger clergy person, a younger pastor, I was more transactional than I was relational or transformative. So I had to try to find out. It's what the personality gurus talk about. I had to try to find out what motivated people and how did they define success and what were their goals in life. And I wanted to transact with them. How could I feed into some of your personal ambitions and get your loyalty to the church? And I discovered that once we start the engagement transactional, the price becomes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And I can never over time pay your ego enough to keep you loyal to Mount Ararat.